This is Ultimate Soccer with Soccer Steve.
Welcome back in, guys. I hope you enjoyed the first game. Qatar taking on Ecuador. Great win for Ecuador. Puts them on top of the group. And let's see what happens next. But got to keep this rolling. A few things. Thank you, subscribers, for subscribing recently. Much love. Thank you very much. And please, please, please share this as far as you can. I want to get 1,000 subscribers on this YouTube channel so I can commentate the World Cup final. I've commentated games in stadiums. I want to do it on this channel. So guys, please push it as far as you can. Please help me to get to 1,000 and let's make it that we can commentate the World Cup final. Wouldn't it be a blast, eh? All of us together for the final? That's what I'm looking at. Anyway, let's keep it moving. We've got 3 big games to talk about. We've got a fast train moving, and in the group phase where we are now, we're going to have fast trains moving all the time. Okay, so I'm going to give you the form, my thoughts on the game, and a prediction coming through on all these 3 games, and I'll be doing that on all the games in the group phase. Now let's get to the first game. There you go, guys. Here is a England retro shirt from 1966 when they won the World Cup. All you had back then was your manufacturer and the badge. No advertising and a flashy white stripe. Yes, this is a replica from the England 1966 shirt. We've got loads more shirts coming, guys. Lots more through the World Cup, so keep it here. So, England taking on Iran. Ooh. So, we've only got 1 star, as you know, but England on the season, 2 wins, 2 draws, 3 losses. They haven't won in 6 games. The last win was March 29th against Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, 3-1 at Wembley. In the meantime, they haven't won in 6 games. Going back in the last 3 games, the last game was a tie, and 2 games before that were losses. Some of the losses, just ringing you off how low this England team can go at times. Hungary beat them 4-0 at Wembley. Now, the Magyars, back in the glory days of the 50s and the 60s, slapped England 6-3, 7-3, yeah? But this is 4-0 this year at Wembley. So England has defensive problems. They've had defensive problems for quite some time. On the year, though, not impressive. Form coming into the World Cup, not impressive. The play of the team and the superstars, not impressive. The coach is definitely not impressive. So they need to start impressing pretty quick. And this might be the game to do it against Iran, if they can. But I say this much. You can't leave it to Harry Kane every single game. And the guy in goal, Pickford, a little bit excitable at times. He's due a mistake once in a while. I hope it's not in the first game against Iran. And they've got enough, what you would say, skill and creativity in the midfield to get it done. But they just don't seem to work hard enough. If this England team starts to work, they could go far in the competition. But if it don't work, then it could end pretty much sooner than it began. So England, not great form, not great coming into it. They need to bring it up a notch. And under the heat and the lovely stadiums in Doha, I hope they can, because if not, it's going to be a miserable tournament. Now, let's take a look at underdogs, Iran. Now, looking at Iran, 5-1-2 on the year. Going back, they're undefeated in 4 wins over Uruguay recently. That's really impressive. That was a 1-0 win over Uruguay. And I got to say, that raised a few eyebrows, but it didn't raise my eyebrow because I know that Iran has a game in them. You've also got to say a draw with Senegal, a win over Tunisia. Not bad results. Not bad results. And then finally, you got to say, finishing off their warm-up games, because they had warm-up games, they had a win against Nicaragua. So Iran's bringing in some decent form. They've beaten some decent teams. No one should take them lightly. And the game prediction, what you want to hear now, if Iran brings a top game, which I expect them to, because they're only coming over the Persian Gulf. There's no travel involved. It's their part of the world. I mean, everything is like home cooking for them right now. So if they get into Doha, Qatar, feeling good, and start preparing nicely, I think they could be the team to supply an upset against England. England are the team to win this game. It should be a 2-0 for England, possibly 2-1. If it goes the other way, 1-0 for Iran, and everybody will say it's the biggest upset of all time, and I will say no, it's not. That Iran are due what they get. Whatever Iran gets in a game, result-wise, they played for what they get. They get what they deserve. I wonder if they get what they deserve against England in this game. So, what am I saying? England look like the team to win it, 2-0, could be 2-1. Iran could pull a 1-0 win, but it won't be a shocker. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, guys, keep it moving. Let's look at Senegal. 8-6-2 on the season. 2 losses on the year. One against Egypt, that was a 1-0, but they did beat Egypt on penalty kicks in the African Cup of Nations. And also, they had a really good time in the Council of South African Association or Football Associations competition as well. They reached the semi-final where they lost out to Zambia 1-0. So it's been a big year for Senegal. Big team coming into the World Cup from Africa. But Sadio Mane is not going to be there. That's the big problem. That's the only problem for Senegal. They're definitely a decent team, and I tell you now, Holland should not write them off, should not take them lightly. They're very capable of pulling a big result, and it wouldn't be a massive upset. It would be a slight upset if Senegal were to win this game. So, looking at it face value, great form coming in. Yes, they've lost Mane, but I've got to say, they got a team, and they may well provide a little bit more physical threats and an option of aerial threat as well as a bit of skill up on the ground up front. So, Holland, beware. Senegal's form is good. Let's take a look at Holland. Holland, 6-2 on the year. They're coming into the World Cup looking like a possible champion. Definitely not a dark horse. Definitely a contender. 6-2 on the season. Not a loss in 2022. It's pretty formidable. When you figure in that they've beaten Belgium twice, and they beat Belgium once 4-1, they've beaten Poland and they've beaten Wales, all teams that are at the World Cup, it makes you think that Holland is here for real. The only thing that's going to mess it up for Holland is Holland. Normally, there's a bit of infighting going on. Normally, it's Holland that beats themselves. 3 World Cup finals. 3 times. Holland should have won it. 3 times they've beaten themselves. In this game, against Senegal, are they going to beat themselves or are they going to turn up and do the business? I expect Holland to get a 2-0 victory. 2-1 at the outside. And if it does go the other way, Holland didn't turn up and Senegal played a massive game. That's what I'm saying. So on the day, I'm looking for a Dutch win. It could be a 2-0. It could be a 2-1. It's definitely a 1-goal game either way. And I don't see a draw. Let's take a look at the next game. Wales taking on the USA. Wales now coming into the World Cup and coming into the end of qualifying for the World Cup was where Wales' good form ended. Since then, it's literally been going downhill. The last 5 games, 4 losses and a draw. Last 3 games, 3 losses. They've lost to people like Belgium, Poland, and really figured in the game, but Belgium and Poland really pushed them aside quite easily. It could have been more goals, but on the day it wasn't. The weak link in Wales is not your midfield. They're tidy in midfield, and they've got a really decent defence. They lack somewhat up front. Yeah, Daniel James can maybe bring something once in a while, and maybe your Gareth Bale can do something amazing once in a blue moon, but that's not enough to get you through 3 games scoring all the way. So it's going to be tough on the offence for Wales. They're going to be decent in midfield and decent in defence, but the weak link is definitely the goalkeeper, Wayne Hennessy. America needs to capitalise on his weakness on low shots, crosses, and basically anything fired in on the net with pace. He doesn't read the ball very well. His distribution isn't the greatest. And quite frankly, he is Wales' weak link. Wales has a shot at getting at least a draw here. But I think you've got to say on the day, you're definitely looking for America to do the damage. Let's take a look at the USA. The USA, 6-4-3 on the year. Losses to Costa Rica, Canada, and recently Japan 2-0. It's been an up and a down kind of year. Canada really was the big team in CONCACAF, and in behind them was Mexico and the US. The US really never got going. They normally are one of the bigger teams in CONCACAF, but this team still has decent credibility written right through it. I mean, when you consider that some of the players play in the biggest leagues in the world, just like in many other teams, this team is here for real, and they qualified on merit. It wasn't the best qualification, but the real problem with the US for American fans is Greg Berhalter, the coach. Not a lot of guys like the coach. They don't like the tactics, and they don't really like the way the US plays. They much prefer the old-fashioned US gunning all the way to the forwards, gunning all the way to goal, literally playing the offensive game. That's what they want to see. Recently, they've seen too much of a long-winded build-up play and too much pass. Get it down the line, get it into the net, get someone on the end of it. And if you get it in front of Pulisic, quite frankly, he is going to put it away. Give Pulisic a little bit of time. He'll definitely do the damage. I also want to think about Greg Sargent over there at Norwich City in the Championship. Love this guy. Has a little bit of an injury worry coming in, but I think that's going to be fine now. But he excites me as little Sargent. I want to see him go. America against Wales. Prediction. It should be a 2-0 or a 2-1 of America. If Wales do get something out of it, then your likes of Daniel James and Gareth Bale did really do something, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But the teams match up nicely. It could be a draw. But I'm going to go with the US on this one. And if Wales do win it, I don't see much more than a 1-0 or a 2-1. And a 2-1 could go either way. That's what I'm saying. Okay, let's go to the centre spot. And let's expose somebody who's not really in the best of form. And will they cost their team dearly at the World Cup? Now, the centre spot, we're looking at one particular guy in the heart of defensive soccer. And that's Harry Maguire of Manchester United and of England. Now, with the Manchester United angle, Erik ten Hag has come in, and it doesn't look like Erik ten Hag wants to use Harry Maguire for any of the defending at all. He much prefers to use the likes of Varane, Lindelof, Martinez, because quite frankly, they are Manchester United standard defenders. I don't think Harry Maguire's had that standard or that form for well over a year. And I credit Ten Hag for dropping him. It sent a signal to Gareth Southgate, the weak link of England, to possibly drop the weak link of the English team, Harry Maguire. It hasn't happened. And in the public forums and in the newspapers, Harry Maguire is getting a lot of support from Gareth Southgate. Now, here's the point. Maguire's form is miserable for Man United. It hasn't been the best for England recently. The guy, in my opinion, has lost confidence. That's where it starts and finishes with Maguire. Can he be a decent player? Yes, he can, but I think the confidence is absolutely shot. And if you look at his face when he's on the ball, he sometimes looks terrified to be on the ball. Well, being on the ball is part of being a soccer player. That's what your bread and butter is. That's what you do for a living. You pass, kick, shoot, head the ball. Don't get a concussion. But that's what you do for a living. So I think the confidence is the real factor. Point being, on the centre spot, focusing on this. Is Harry Maguire going to make a massive error in defence that costs England in the group phase or in this game against Iran? That's the question. Is he going to cost England in the group phase or eventually in a big game? Thoughts down below, guys. Let me know what you're thinking, poets. Drop a comment. I'm loving this. I hope you are too. I'm waiting to hear what you think. Next up, we're going to take the fun facts with a really fun World Cup story that you may know about, but you may not. And I'm thinking most of you probably don't. Check this. Now, back in 1950, England were making their debut in a World Cup. The first World Cup was 1930, but England started their World Cups in 1950 because they boycotted the World Cup. Yeah, England boycotted the World Cup, the first three, because of payments made to amateur players. When you consider most of the players that are playing in the world at that time were amateurs and that they had real jobs, what would the problem be? Maybe the stiff upper lip from the English FA. And you've got to say, Arthur Drury was the FA president at the time back then, and I tell you, he made a few strange decisions back in the day. Just let me say that much. But anyway, they were not impressed with paying amateurs a wage to play a game of football. Not English, not customary to the games, not going to happen. So they had a problem with it, yeah? And they didn't play at the World Cup. Silly billies. They should have been at the World Cup. They might have won 2 World Cups already instead of just 1. Now, other things as well at that 1950 thing that you call the World Cup. Nowadays, people, there were no substitutes. If you got an injury, Dunsey. Put the guy on the line, have a second goalkeeper or a smaller net. He could stand next to the post. But there were no substitutes in 1950 either, which is quite ironic when you think that now you can sit the complete team on the bench. Everybody's sitting on the bench this World Cup for the first time. And the original World Cups, not one single substitute. Oh, do times change, I say, old chap. Anyway, moving on. In that World Cup, just like in this World Cup, England are going to play the USA. Or the USA's going to play England. whichever way you want to talk about it. And the point I'm going to make is, back then, England with the superstars had people like Sir Stanley Matthews, a mega giant. He was like a Ronaldo or like a Messi for those times. He was one of the great players, okay? And he was said to have been told by Arthur Drury, the FA boss, Stanley, you're going to sit this game against the Americans because we don't need you. We're going to save you for a big game. Oh, okay, boss, no problem. I'll sit down. Yeah, okay, thanks, boss. Really wanted to play. So he sits down. Sir Stanley Matthews, the big player, just like Man United with Ronaldo making him sit. But here's the deal. Sir Stanley sits. The game comes. The game goes. At the end of the day, the final score is England 0, USA 1. Yeah. One of the guys that never got to be at that game, and it's quite sad, was a guy called Ben McLaughlin. You'll see a picture of him when we close out. Ben McLaughlin was part of the USA team that was going to go there. The only reason why Ben McLaughlin couldn't get to the World Cup in 1950 to play England, to be part of history, was because his boss wouldn't give him time off work. Can you believe that? He wouldn't give him time off work. Have a look at Ben in full flight. Guys, I'm reading some of your emails right now. These are amazing. These are amazing. Remember, fifascup@gmail.com. fifascup@gmail.com. You'll see it. I'll just put it down there. You'll see it. Read this. You got it. But this one comes in from Montreal, and this is Stefan. Stefan says, topic, Wales versus the USA. Who is Ryan McElhenney cheering for? Wrexham boy. Is he going to cheer for Wales or is he going to cheer for the USA? Lovely. I like that one. I like that one. And what we got now? Okay, yeah. Tony says, I'm cheering for Team Canada from Ontario. Everybody should write in on the show and tell you where they're cheering from. Hey, that's a good one, Tony. I like that. I like that one. Last one of all. Michael in Calgary. Michael in Calgary says, I saw you at the game. Are you really as nuts in person as you are on your show? Keep bringing them, guys. These are amazing. Hey, fifascup@gmail.com. Drop me some more, and I'll tell you what, let's share your thoughts on the show and keep me laughing, because I like to laugh, and it's the World Cup. So you've heard what I said for the 3 games. Let's go for that. More games coming. You'll see them coming as we close out. There's 4 games coming after this. Yeah, Argentina's coming. Woo! Lionel Messi's coming. Woo! And one thing I will say as I'm hitting these is bring your comments down below, guys, and hit me with as much as you can. Hit me with everything you can. Okay, guys, that's all we've got time for on the pre-game. Come back for the post-game, and I tell you, this is just getting better every day. Thanks for the great emails. Cheers, guys.
The Ultimate Soccer Show. Join me, listen, you'll love it. Everybody does.